Like the power. But the question is, what is the power? You've got to discover what controls the system to really get through all the layers if you're going to try to build a better civilization and a future for humanity. Because we know the establishment that's taken control certainly does not even see humanity in their future. And coming up later in the hour, I'll talk about the technocracy with Professor Griff, one of the founding members of one of the most legendary and still popular, one of the most popular hip-hop/rap groups out there, Public Enemy, pgriff.info, P and then Griff for Professor Griff.info. And he's going to be with us for the hour today to take phone calls. And I want to give the number out if you specifically have a question. It can be all over the map. That's what I love about the wild card aspect of this. We don't screen your calls. In fact, that's why people call in on whatever issue they want. But when I do say it's for a guest, it's for the guest. Address your question to him. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231 today. And he joins us. Of course, many of you also know him, even if you're not a connoisseur of some of the better hip-hop and rap out there, like I've been growing up in Dallas, Texas. Then you know him from the Obama deception that we were producing before Obama even got into office. And he says, just because you get a black president, people think everything's going to be all right. Well, no, it's not going to be all right. Just like a lot of conservatives think you get Bush in, he's going to save you, and he runs over you. Because it's not about that. It's about total control. They're now coming out, we're going to talk about this, with computers that are going to write the news articles and fully replace humans. Pre-programmed with an official story that then they write in different variations. That's why the press corps won't even be needed. A virtual president, all of it. So now it won't be a president reading off a globalist written teleprompter. It will be a virtual computer program of the president, where the president won't have to travel. See, the new carbon tax will be the global prison where you can't travel anywhere. You have to get authorizations to travel. This is a nightmare. A nightmare, and they want us all fighting with each other over race, religion, all this stuff. And when they get people fighting over that, it becomes real. Even if you don't want to hate somebody, they hate you because of your religion or your race or what you look like or where you came from. So how do you transcend that? How do you get past the divide and conquer? Because if we don't do that, we're dead. It's the eugenics program, the extermination program. Professor Griff, out of the gates, what do you want to talk about first today before we go to these phone calls? What is front and center in your mind and your deep research and all the books you've got coming out that are so popular that are available, I should add, at pgriff.info?
First, I want to say thank you for having me on once again. As promised, we're back once again for the second time, and I want to thank your listeners since the last time. The support, I received some things in the mail from some people, some further information, and it's a beautiful thing. So once again, thanks for having me. But the thing that's on my mind, I received some information about a gentleman in the so-called in hip-hop or rap. Now, this particular gentleman, he murdered someone simply because he thought this person that he murdered was his friend. And he thought if he murdered his friend, that it would kind of appease the quote-unquote Illuminati, and he would be accepted in the Illuminati because he thought that this person would be his blood human sacrifice. Now, this disturbed me, so I said to myself, what is it that I'm not saying to make this very, very clear about the Illuminati being 13 bloodlines? So I went back into the book, and I said to myself, maybe I need to talk to Alex about the 21 goals of the Illuminati, as mentioned in Dr. John Coleman's book, The Committee of 300.
And by the way, he laid out their whole plan. He was in MI6. I think he's even still alive, but he's hard to get on. He's been ill. We need to get Dr. Coleman back on. Is he still alive?
Yes, he is.
Guys, get him on immediately. I keep forgetting. He's really hard to get on. He hadn't been on in about 5 years. But get him on immediately. Yes, let's go over from an MI6 guy who 20 years ago laid out everything. I mean, I've got to say, no one has, and there's so many great people like him that you just forget about because they're not out front and center. Break down what he says their 21 goals are.
Number one, real quick. Number one is to establish a one-world government, New World Order, with a unified church and a monetary system. Under the direction of this one-world government, they began to set up its church back between the 20s and the 30s. Now, this is something that they would control. Now, they would set up a church to body and channel these particular beliefs that they would come up with. And these are non-religious beliefs. That's number one. Number two, to bring about the utter destruction of all national identity and national pride. And chime in anytime you would like, which was the primary consideration if the concept of the one world government, the New World Order, was to work. So these things go hand in hand to establish a unified church and a monetary system, and to break down national identity. This gives birth to this implantable biomicrochip that everyone on the planet, walking, living, breathing, have to accept the chip.
And now they openly say they want the troops, and the troops are already getting them, by the way, the special forces. All of this that was unbelievable 10 years ago is now in our face. Please continue.
Exactly. Number three, to engineer and bring about the destruction of religion, and more especially the Christian religion, with one exception, their own creation, as mentioned above. Number four, to establish the ability to control each and every person through means of mind control and what Zbigniew Brzezinski called technotronics, I believe, which would create human-like robots and a system of terror which would make these things come about and be acceptable by the people via the mind control. You walk through Newark Liberty Airport, you'll hear robots talking to you, giving you directions.
And they're just conditioning you and getting you ready. Exactly.
Exactly. So, softening you up, making you, what's the word I want to use? More pliant, so to speak, to get you to accept instructions and authority from robots. Number five, to bring about the end of all industrialization and the production of nuclear-generated electric power.
By the way, he wrote this more than 20 years ago in one of his first books. And look, the post-industrial zero-growth society. See that? Keep going.
Yes, exactly. Now, basically, what they're doing is, 20 years ago, you would almost think that, okay, if these things didn't take place, what's the problem? Well, you and I both know that the men that are operating behind the scenes call themselves men of coordinates. And they will pass this agenda down to the next generation if they don't succeed in their particular lifetime.
They never give up.
Right, exactly. They don't. The agenda does not stop. If you and I go on vacation to catch a little sun somewhere, if they do this, the machine world keeps going. They wanted to bring this into fruition through NAFTA and other organizations and other programs that they have already set in motion. So if you look at the war on terror, when it talks about destroying the Taliban and other organizations that they helped create, it says in this particular document that the U.S., in the wake of industrial destruction, will either become opium, heroin, or cocaine addicts. This is what they are doing right now, unbeknownst to the troops that are fighting. Now, I know the government is listening, so we don't want to get charged with sedition. We're reading a document put out 20 years ago by Dr. John Coleman in the book, The Story of the Committee of 300, number 6. To encourage and eventually legalize the use of drugs and make pornography an art form. My question is, does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? If you're going to make pornography an art form, and then make it an art form to whom? Your little babies, my little babies? How does that work?
It was like a nightmare. I was down in Galveston 2 weeks ago on a vacation, and the last day I was there, a convention of cheerleaders came, but it was little kids at a competition, and there were like 10-year-olds dressed like prostitutes everywhere, and they were being rude to my daughters because they thought they were there for the competition. And I mean, it was freaking me out. In fact, we even came home a day early. I mean, people are training their daughters to be whores.
Wow. Number 7. To bring about depopulation of large cities according to the trial run carried out by Pol Pot, Pol Pot's regime in Cambodia. And basically it says here, it's interesting to note that Pol Pot's genocidal plans were drawn up in the U.S. by one of the Club of Rome's Research Foundation and overseen by Thomas Indias. And this is very critical. A lot of these things are done right from the United States of America. Number 8, to suppress all scientific development except for those deemed beneficial by the Illuminati. So if that is true, then we can roll our minds back just a few years ago to them, not a few years ago, in and around the mid-80s, when the electric car was given birth to. And they sat on the electric car. Simply because the multinational corporations that control the oil and the gas did not want the electric car to hit the streets just yet. So here we are, 2011, 12, and 13, just now seeing the electric car. You see, they killed the electric car because maybe it gets 85 miles per gallon, so to speak, and they didn't want that on the streets yet.
Absolutely. We've got to go get...
On car lots, there are millions of gas-guzzling trucks and cars that are sitting there.
Professor Griff's our guest. Stay there, sir. We're going to come back, finish up with the goals, and then go to your phone calls with Professor Griff, one of the founders of Public Enemy, their Minister of Information, laying it out and reminding me about Dr. John Coleman. Wow.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com. Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
Professor Griff of pgriff.info, founder of Public Enemy, their Minister of Information, touring the country, about to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here very, very soon. And he joins us right now. I promise we'll get to your calls in the next segment. He'll go with us a little bit in the next hour. He's been gracious to do that. He's speaking to a university after that at, I guess, 3, so he's got some time. I haven't even asked him where he's at right now. Griff, where are you right now?
Right now I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, at Missouri Western State University.
You're in Missouri. Awesome. There's a little bit of echo on your phone now. Do me a favor and try to talk right into the receiver.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
Yeah, it's a little muffled, but it's okay. Just keep rolling with this key knowledge from Dr. John Coleman. This is real info that you're laying out, and I'd forgotten about it because it's 20 years old, and it's all coming true. Keep going.
Well, I'll left off at number 9. Number 9, to cause by means of limited wars in the advanced countries, by means of starvation and disease in the third world countries, the death of 3 billion, that's B, billion people by the 2050. People they call useless eaters. As you and I talked about, this is not useless black eaters. This is not useless white eaters. These are useless eaters, period. Because they're not going to differentiate between you and I. All right, so useless eaters. The Committee of 300, the Illuminati Commission by Cyrus Vance, to write a paper on this subject of how to bring about such genocide. The paper was produced under the title Global 2000 Report. And this is very critical. Under the accepted and approved by the actions of the former President James Earl Carter. This is very critical. And we need to note here, Zbigniew Brzezinski was involved, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Number 10, to weaken the moral fiber of the nation and to demoralize workers in the labor class by creating mass unemployment. And not only unemployment, but underemployment, to the point where you're not going to be qualified because of the advanced technology dealing with the robots. You're not going to be qualified to get a job. You're going to be unemployable. As jobs dwindle due to the